which will take place during 2 hours. And please note that there will be 20 minutes of question and answer session at the end. And actually there's a little change to the agenda, as we just got a surprise speaker who would also speak after Mr. Nasser boledai, who will give us, who is Baban Eliassi, representing Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran. So he will also give us a small speech about 10 minutes, and then we'll proceed to discussions and questions. So without any further delays, let me give the floor to Mr. Antonio Stango, member of the General Council at the Non-Violent Radical Party.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank Valeria for working for this conference for us, and also the Radical Party and other panelists that have come today here to join us. As it was mentioned here, Middle East is in a very complex situation. It always has been. It is because due to its regional position in the world, and also because many faiths have originated from that region. From Jewish to the Islam, and now the Baha'is and others, more than the bigger religion also has somehow has their have come in the Middle East. And there is also a kind of ethnic mix also in the region. There are different groups living in different places. For some years ago, I never have thought there would be Turkmen in Iraq, because Turkmen, we know that in Iran we have Turkmens, and we knew that the Turkmen are living in the Soviet Union, but nobody thought that there were a group of the Turkmen people living in that region. For instance, also there are Kurdish people, not only in the geography of Kurdistan today. There are Kurds also living in Khorasan province, or northern part of Iran, which is in the border with Afghanistan. And at the same time Baloch also. So this is the problem in that region. Once you touch on something and democracy come or protest come, and there are wars, the ethnic problems come up, and there are also somehow have to be accommodated. We have from the historically, we know that the European, just some days ago looking at the European map and seeing that how it's changed from the Napoleon War to the First World War, due to the ethnic groups or national groups or religious groups demand for their rights, religious right, or for their national right. And we have seen that Europe, in somehow, after so many years of war, have managed to solve those problems. We have, of course, here in Switzerland, the best case. I have also had the opportunity, with the help of the Society for Threatened People, to learn more about the Swiss federalism. And my personal view at the time, and it still is that is one of the greatest achievements of the humankind, the Switzerland system. At least there are problems, of course, in politics. You never end with the problem. There are here, but they have tried and they have managed to somehow to manage their problem. That Switzerland is one of the best countries in the world. And we have seen also in the Middle East, the map has changed. That is, Mr. Charles was talking here about the Great Game. And the Great Game was between the Soviet and, at the time, between the Russia and Great Britain. And now it's also, again, is happening. And Balochistan at that time also somehow was at the center of the Great Game. And it was also, if you look at the map in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, you could see also the change of map there. Balochistan was a country in that region. As it was talking here, there was a kingdom, Talat Kingdom in Balochistan. It was ruling the whole part of Balochistan, which is now part of Afghanistan, and part of Iran, and part of Pakistan. Of course, there has come different empires in that region, from Persian empires in the ancient times, from the Arab Empire, the Islamic Empire later, and the European empires also have come there, and the Turkish empires also somehow have come there and changed the map historically. But for us, Baloch, the turning point came when the British came to that region. They occupied Kalat, the capital of Balochistan, and this was made Baloch government at the Kalat weaker, and this made also, at the time, the Qajar dynasty was ruling in Iran, and they attacked that region that is now West Balochistan, part of Iran, and took over that part from the Balochistan. Of course, the Baloch resisted that occupation, but nevertheless, after many years of coming, I mean, because Iran never was also a peaceful country at the time, because the dynasty was sometimes very strong and sometimes was very weak. So in those times that Iran was weaker, Baloch also managed to create their own semi-independent regions, which is now known as Western Balochistan, which is a part of Iran. It's called Sistan Balochistan at the moment. But now Balochistan is divided properly between those three countries. And still it is, as it was mentioned here, all of us suffer from different reasons. One of the reasons is that you are a national minority, another reason is because you are a religious minority. As for us in Iran, we, Baloch and Kurds and Turkmen, there are three groups which is majority Sunni in Iran, which is majority Shia. And in Iraq, we had the same situation before. There was a minority ruling, the Sunni elite, Arab elite, which was suppressing the Shia. There also, they were majority Arab also. And the Kurdish group, which was also both Shia and Sunni, but majority were Sunni. So in that region, everything is used against people that are living there, be it their ethnic situation or the religious situation. And in the case of Iran, as was mentioned here, because when you talk about the religious and national minority, there is the woman right also. And in Iran also, because of your gender, you are discriminated. And of course, all of the society in the Middle East, because of many years of fighting and years of war and difficulty of deciding your fate for the self-determination, because everybody knows the Ottoman Empire, when it's collapsed, Arab wanted a greater Arab region, but they could not do it because the European decided the map in that region. And still we are having problem because of those situations. And still we are having the problem when they come up in different situations. Always there is suppression, but when you talk about them, it's at the time of war or at the time of this kind of protest for change. As it was mentioned here, that this, what is called the Arab Spring, it's, mostly should be called the Arab protest. We don't know what is going to lead and how it's going to change in that region. And I think at the time when now the Middle East is changing, there should be more effort, as Christopher was talking here about this, that the situation should be taken more seriously by democratic group, people that are for human rights, to make sure that different groups in that region understand. For change in that region, you have to somehow to accommodate all people's wishes. Somehow, not, of course, it's not possible, it should be a process, but the thing is that the national minorities' right in that region should be respected, and there should be a dialogue between them. And of course, from the national minorities group, they also make sure that because people have migrated, as I say, there are different reasons. We have different people have migrated to Balochistan from other regions of Iran. And also from Afghanistan, due to the war in Afghanistan, because of the Soviet occupation, and later now the situation that is a war going on in Afghanistan. Many people have migrated to Balochistan, almost you could say about 300, 400, 500, even some people put them up to 1 million Afghan living in the Balochistan region. So many of those people now have been born and raised in Balochistan also. So there should be, whenever something happens in that region, if you somehow try to accommodate the situation within those borders as the federal countries, as we in our Balochistan People's Party, we talk about Iran should change its structure to a federal state, where it could accommodate all of these different groups. Because Iran is a country where it is not like Iraq, you have only the Kurds and Arab and the smaller minorities like Turkmen in that region. But in Iran you have larger religious groups and minority groups. We have the Azerbaijani Turks, which maybe make up to 20% of Iran's population. Of course, they claim there will be more in Iran. And of course, we have the Kurdish also, is a large ethnic or national minority group in Iran also. We have the Baloch, we have the Turkmen, we have the Lord. And there are also other linguistic groups. Sometimes they are never taught, as was mentioned here. There are smaller groups that maybe the people that are belonging to those smaller minorities, a linguistic group like Gilanis or Mazendanis, they are also large population. They are maybe more than Balochs in the population, but they never talk about their linguistic right in Iran. But I think the situation will change in the future, where you can see Iran, if it's going to change and accommodate its nationalities to keep its territorial integrities, those demands will come up also. I mean, it's very important for Iran to understand the situation. If it is going to change to democracies, if you're going to change to democracy, of course, You cannot have a democratic country and it should be stable and it could be kept together when it does not respect its national minorities. Especially in the case of, when it's case in Iran, as I said, in Iran there is no majority groups. There is no group that can claim that I have more than 50% or 60% of the population are Persian or Turk or Kurds or Baloch or other national groups in Iran. In Iran we have a very mixed. Iran is a country at the best could be said as a mini India, population-wise, and also in its religious and ethnic groups, a combination of those different groups. If it is going to be a democratic country and change itself, it has to accept that it has different population, it has different group of religious groups, and that's why we think Iran should change from a current unitary state or centralized government to a federal state where the government does not want to support one religious groups and one national groups. And we have those kind of, we have, for instance, in India, when India became independent, we have the Tamil groups both in India and in Sri Lanka. The Tamil group in Sri Lanka were in a much better position when the independence happened in that region. Due to Sri Lankan government's assimilation policy or centralized policy that they wanted to use the Ceylani language as the only language in that region, the Tamil protested to that situation. And we saw there was a bloody war which ended some years ago, and of course with a very bad consequences, especially for the Tamil people in that region. While the Tamil in India at the time were more for independence for their region. Of course, there were a large group of them wanted to stay within India. But India accommodated their wishes and brought them also in their government somewhat, accommodated their right also within the region and also give them power in the national government through their political party, regional political parties. They became ministers in the central government also. And situation changed. And of course, in Iran also, Iran insists not only on the Shia, sometimes Iranian nationalist group who are very for the language, they say that everybody should speak Persian. And we saw in Tamil, they said, no, we do not want to learn Indian language, the Indian language. We want to learn our Tamil language and also the English language. The Indian government said, okay. Think if the Indian government said, no, you have to learn the Indian language. We would have the same situation that we had in Sri Lanka, the same situation that happened in Bangladesh and Pakistan, when Pakistan wanted to make the Urdu the national language, and Bengali protested, and then the country was broken up. And I think this is this kind of things that Iran also, those who are working for a democratic Iran should consider, that Iran also should accommodate the situation as it is, not according to the wishes of one national group or one group of people. Otherwise, Iran will never change its structure to a democratic situation. And I'm afraid if it cannot change to a democratic situation, as we have seen in other kind of time of movement and change, Yugoslavia, Soviet Union, or know what's happening in the situation in the Middle East and North Africa. Iran cannot also preserve its map as it is today, because those national groups, I think, in Iran would become much stronger. As we can see, there are different groups of nationalities becoming more active. They did not have a political voice before, but they're gaining those kind of voices, because people are understanding now that why we should be discriminated when Iranian government talk about although they say that we are Iran, but then they talk about the Persian language, Persian Gulf. And then people think, well, I'm not Persian, why I should support this Persianization of Iran, Persian language and Persian Gulf, and everything should be named according to the Farsi name or these kind of things. And even Iranian governments try to tell the children also that you should also use the Persian names or Arabic names that are Shia names, not Arabic names that are used for the Sunnis, or originally just Arab names that are not used by the Prophet or his grandsons or the people that are important for the Shia group. So Iran government in different spheres want to make Iran just a country which is Farsi and the country which is Shia, and this goes against the wishes of, at least in Iran, majority of the people. Of course, the nationalities group, when they count themselves, they think they are about 60% or 70%. And in some situations it could be true, because even Iranian own Minister for Education in 2009 said 70% of the children in Iran when they start the school, they do not speak Persian as their mother language. And it's a large group. After 100 years of assimilation, we could see that this has failed in Iran, and this should be seen as a starting point for change for Iran, where it can accommodate both the linguistic right of the people, cultural right and national right, and also the gender right, which is very important in Iranian case, because the Iranian government discriminates women directly in its constitution. And we hope that we, as I was saying here, as a Balochistan People's Party and from the Congress of Nationalities, that we group that work together, Baloch from Iran and Kurd from Iran, the Democratic Party of Kurdistan of Iran, and other groups from Turkmen and Azerbaijan and Turkmen and Arab groups, we work together in the Congress of Nationalities for Federal Iran. And we have very good cooperation both with the Radical Party, UNPO, and Society for Threatened People, and of course we are also hoping to use more the United Nations mechanism for accommodating human rights in Iran, and also we have been working very closely with Interfaith, Mr. Charles, in different occasions. I have been also here and discussing, and I hope we can in future continue this one, and I hope the problem with the Middle East is also that the extremist groups are more united, they work together, and they do not recognize those boundaries. And I think this is time that democratic groups, both in the Middle East and in the world in whole, can work together for change in the Middle East, for a change that can start a process making discrimination less in that region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boledai. Now we have another speaker who was not in the original program, but he is much welcome, is Mr. Baban Eliassi from the Kurdistan